Nothing will come between us now, my sweet. You and I will be good friends. 6 months from now, you're going to awaken as me. And the world is going to be very afraid.
Alex Wesker is known for many things. The main antagonist in Resident Evil Revelations 2, one of the last remaining Weskers on the planet, and much more. The vast majority of fans are wondering if she is the next main villain, or will be sidelined for the foreseeable future as she has been for nearly a decade and counting. But nonetheless, this is the story of her and Natalia Korda before the reveal of Resident Evil 9. So before we get into it, be sure to leave a like on this video to help it reach the YouTube algorithm, and subscribe to the channel for more content like this in the near future. And now, let's get into it. Alex's early life and true surname are unknown. She was taken from her parents at an early age as part of the Wesker Project, a eugenics project, and renamed after the project leader, Dr. Wesker. As part of the project, she was given a privileged upbringing with access to the best education around while at home being instilled with the worldviews of Oswald E. Spencer. His ultimate goal was that these children would be infected with a progenitor virus strain and usher in a utopian superhuman society. And though the virus was not yet ready for this goal, he recognized the need for the several hundred candidates to share their worldviews with himself. As a young adult, Alex left her home into higher level education in a field of her choosing and was headhunted by Umbrella Pharmaceuticals as one of the short list of as little as 13 candidates. How many of the other Weskers that Alex was raised with is unknown, though she was close to Albert, an Umbrella virologist who, along with Alex, was considered the best candidates for the project. By the 1990s, Alex was mostly or even fully aware about Project Wesker, kept a secret to others, and was an acquaintance of Lord Spencer as a senior member of the UID, also known as the Umbrella Intelligence Division. On the Umbrella CEO's instructions in 1998, the Wesker candidates were infected with the prototype virus as part of the next phase of the project. Alex and Albert were the only confirmed survivors of this procedure, though Albert was able to fake his death for several months. The virus had a 20% probability of negligible mutation for each candidate and became a certainty in Alex due to an incurable illness that she developed. Consequently, she possessed no superhuman powers. Alex herself was not as loyal to Spencer as he believed and made sure to use her position to build a power base of her own, while Umbrella Pharmaceuticals still had resources that she could use. On July 19, 2000, Alex and a team of Umbrella researchers and her loyal confidant, Stuart, landed on Cenia Island, which was a small Russian island which suffered from an economic collapse during the fall of the Soviet Union. Alex chose to take advantage of their desperation before using them as guinea pigs. Using Umbrella's funds, Alex kickstarted an economic recovery by hiring the locals to construct a research complex. Seeking to eventually use the locals as guinea pigs, she also saw the reopening of its mines, which made an ideal place for abducting test subjects. Unaware about this, she was hailed as a messianic figure by the locals for her actions. After the final collapse of Umbrella in 2003, Alex remained at Lord Spencer's side, sent out to Umbrella's old facility at Sonido de Tortuga Island. Alex was instructed to divert viral weapons research toward the creation of a virus which would halt the telomere shortening properties of human cells, which made aging an inevitability. To be infected with such a mutagen would have made him biologically immortal. Already feeling the effects of her own degenerative illness, she gave up on the project and abandoned the island, taking all of the research data with her to Cenia Island, where she reformed it into the T-Phobos Project in 2006. A year after beginning the initial research, instead of keeping an aged body alive, Alex's new project instead aimed at developing technology that would digitize her consciousness and transfer it into a host body, with a virus being developed that would create a superhuman for this copied consciousness to inhabit. This may have been brought on by her illness, as a new Alex would not suffer from a terminal disease. The problem in developing this virus was that brain chemistry was the deciding factor in creating the superhuman. Production of hormones associated with fear would fail a candidate, and 6 months of exposure to the virus and the mind transfer machinery was necessary for Wesker's copied consciousness. This is where we bring in Natalia Korda. In 2004, the Corda family were living or visiting the Mediterranean city of Terra Grigia when it fell victim to a bioterrorist attack by Veltro. Her parents were killed in front of her, but she herself survived with the help of FBC and TerraSave member Neil Fisher, who sent her out to a TerraSave affiliated orphanage with a teddy bear as a gift, which she named Lottie. At her time in the orphanage, she became isolated from the other children emotionally and developed an introverted personality, with little ups and downs in her emotional development. In 2011, Fisher entered talks with Alex Wesker. Due to her emotional limitations, Natalia was selected for the project along with 10 TerraSave members. himself included. All were invited to a party where they would be quickly rounded up in a raid by a paramilitary group under her command. During work on T-Phobos, Wesker received news firstly about Spencer's death in mid-2006, and secondly about Albert Wesker's death in early 2009. Though she grew to see him as a feeble old man with delusions of grandeur, she appreciated his eugenic views and strove to see T-Phobos become a success, which would realize his dream, but by making her the god of the New World instead. When she heard about Albert's death, she took a more personal blow, and as the sole remaining of the 13 candidates, she insisted that the project should be sped up. Running out of options, Wesker began looking for new candidates from outside the island and found her solution with Neil Fisher. Fisher secretly shared the views of the incarcerated FBC leader Morgan Lansdale, that the radical actions had to be taken to ensure global stability in the face of bioterrorism. The two agreed to a pact. He would supply the members of his own organization who had experiences with facing mutants in exchange for a sample of Ouroboros so a vaccine could be created, rendering it worthless as a black market product. After the raid and members dying, only 3 candidates remained: Claire Redfield, Moira Burton, and Natalia Korda. Stewart's team continued monitoring the survivors' progress and concluded that Corda, a child, was the ideal candidate as her childhood trauma made her incapable of feeling fear. Fisher was ordered to abduct her and take her directly to Alex, so she could be put in a comatose state for the next 6 months to ensure the experiment's success. Seeking to tie loose ends up, Wesker infected Fisher with Ouroboros to turn him into a monster rather than simply handing it over. Stewart oversaw the killing of all researchers ahead of his own suicide, so they should not accidentally interfere with the other plans. As Natalia was placed into storage in a bunker beneath her tower, Wesker was confronted by Claire and Moira, the 2 remaining candidates who also became unnecessary to her plans. Believing everything to be complete, Wesker took a handgun out and shot herself in the head, which triggered the facility's self-destruct system. Wesker did not die as planned. In her final moments between pulling the trigger and her intended death, she felt the fear of dying and becoming nothing. Her unconscious body began to quickly mutate, turning her into a powerful and disfigured mutant, wearing robes and a mask to disguise her deformation. In the 6-month wait of Natalia's awakening, Wesker fell into an existential crisis. She once triumphed the project as effectively making her immortal, birthed into a new body, but was disturbed at the idea of 2 Alexes existing simultaneously. Natalia began to be seen as an imposter Alex, unworthy of holding the mantle of a god. When the weeks approached before Corda's awakening, Alex began planning her death and released the Ouroboros BOW's revenants onto the island with the goal of killing everything left. Natalia awoke from her coma 6 months following the abduction, possessing heightened senses allowing her to determine the location of nearby mutants. Her memories of those events were hazy, and she experienced hallucinations where she was met by Dark Natalia, the copied Wesker persona. Dark Natalia encouraged her to travel across the island in search of Lottie, knowing that the stress induced by an attack from mutants would allow her to control Corda's body. Plan failed when she successfully reached Lottie on a cliff after avoiding them all. Soon, she was spotted by BSA advisor Barry Burton, who had come to Cenia in search of his daughter Moira, who was still missing. Natalia refused to wait on the boat with him, and the two made their way through an abandoned Soviet-era prison, full of torture devices for Wesker's fear experiments with great help from Natalia and her abilities. As they left the prison to a radio station, she began unlocking memories, either her own or Dark Natalia's. As they reached the monument, she recognized Wesker by name and appearance on a portrait of herself and her like-named colleague, Albert Wesker. They were soon confronted by Wesker herself, having failed to die as intended and was instead mutated by T-Phobos. Wesker continued to stalk the two as she had done in the town, and confronted them once more as they made their way through a quarry. There, Wesker became enraged at Natalia for failing to succumb to her copied consciousness. Unaware Dark Natalia was indeed inside her as planned, rather than kill her instantly, Wesker vented her anger slowly by choking her. The stress induced from being in a life-threatening situation allowed her to take control. If only briefly, recognizing the change in her eyes, Wesker backed off and fled the scene, suffering an existential crisis as the realization there were now effectively two of her. As Natalia and Barry continued on into the island, she unlocked Wesker's memories and led him over a canal to a mine where Wesker's T-Phobos research was conducted. Deep inside the facility, she found herself being lured down a path decorated by mutilated dolls, graffiti, and Lottie being torn apart and nailed to a wall. Eventually, the two ran into Wesker herself again, unwilling to die in spite of her plans. She infected herself with a sample of Ouroboros and mutated extensively to improve her chances of killing Natalia. Playing dead after sustaining a gunshot wound, Wesker was able to grab her and attempted once again to choke her to death to destroy the copied persona. Her attempt at killing Corda was a failure, however, when she was rescued by a gunshot from Moira, who had survived the 6 months as a survivalist. Alex's time ran short when faced with the BSA assault on Cenia. With weapons supplied by the BSAA, Alex was killed by a rocket launcher fired by Claire Redfield before she could achieve vengeance. Alex's legacy continued after her death, though not entirely as she planned. The copied Consciousness by June 2013 achieved a seemingly success in Natalia, who started reading the writings of Franz Kafka, who was a favorite of Alex, and newspaper articles on bioterrorism. Natalia would be 24 years old as of next year, where supposedly Resident Evil 9 will release and take place. But with all that aside, Natalia is one of the more heartbreaking characters in the series, from having her parents murdered in front of her, being orphaned and kidnapped at such a young age, to now having another personality inside her consciousness. Never had the opportunity to experience a proper childhood until the Burns came along, but even so, Alex's experiment worked. So was it really all sunshine and daisies after Revelations 2? I think not. It's heartbreaking, and I do hope one day, and maybe, just maybe, if it's RE9, we can see an expansion on that. As for Alex, the seeds of her being a villain in a future game have already been planted. If she has something to do with these recent rumors of RE9, somehow I will be more than happy. I think her potential is too much to pass up on, plus the Wesker name will live on for another game, which I'm sure some people will want that. But anyways, let me know what you guys think of this video, and let me know on who you want to see next for a full story video on. Be sure to leave a like on this video to help it reach the YouTube algorithm, and subscribe for more content like this in the near future, and I will catch you guys in my next video. Peace out, and much love.